Hello everyone, this is our new video and this is gonna be a recap round number 6 of the Olympiad, and with me here today my friend FIDE Master Vladimir Chernikov.
Finally, ciao.
Yeah, and today we're gonna analyze two games of two world champions, Magnus Carlsen and Dean Liren, and how they care their teams on the Olympiad, and spoilers, they do not really carry. So, how is Olympiad for you, Vladimir? Do you like it? Did you expect something like that? And what can you say?
Okay, not the best Olympiad I've ever seen, definitely. There's lacking of intrigue so far because looks like Indian guys finally will beat everyone and will win gold medals. We'll talk about it more detailed in our podcast tomorrow, but in general, there are not many surprising results. I believe it was like just, I think, Italy at some point that scored one win, and maybe, okay, Ukraine obviously beating USA.
But
Except of
we
this,
by the way in our podcast predicted all the stuff like that US will be beaten somewhere because their squad is very not solid. Let's put it that way, and old.
yes, and about Vidit, guys, I know you, I know, but you can't say nothing because Vidit is in board number 4, but
No,
definitely
no, no, no,
performing
no,
well.
no, no, no. In our podcast, that again somewhere pops up on the screen, we said that Vidit on the first board is an optimal solution because on the first board he would most likely suck. And here you can see it because India crushing everybody without chances. There, it's hard even to imagine who will compete against them. So yeah. And by the way, I predicted India on the first place, and I wanna ask Vladimir where is his Uzbekistan, but let's not
Coming
talk.
soon, they're just 2 points behind us, you can see in the
The,
standings.
the 2 points is like, I don't know, the whole eternity, like Everest to climb to India.
And
So
now they will play versus Ukraine, so I think there are quite big chances to win this match for Uzbekistan.
yes, USA also thought so. But okay, let's leave all the cherries on top for our podcast. But today we'll start with a game of Magnus Carlsen, who yesterday, by the way, didn't play well, and before he got late almost because of his bicycle incident. And yesterday he didn't win some Turkey guy, I believe, and actually he had better position with black, but was forced to suffer in the slightly worsened game. Not suffer really, but yeah. And what were expectations from this game, Vladimir against Liren?
Okay, my expectation was something like easy win for Magnus in 30 moves or something like that, because that's what he always do against Parham, right? I mean,
Yeah.
more mainly in Blitz or Rapid Chess, but okay, in Classical, moreover, with white pieces, I expected something huge for Magnus.
Yeah, I mean, I also thought he plays white, and like everything was actually going this way, but then some unexpected twist happened. E4 C6, Caro-Kann. Uh, I mean, pretty solid take. Not against Magnus though, and especially what Parham played later. Probably opening choice wasn't the greatest, but on the other hand, he's like very dynamical player. E5, Bishop f5 was played, and here Magnus plays Knight D2. This is a move, and I myself, as a player who played Caro-Kann, probably knows a little bit more than Vladimir, who doesn't play such type of positions. Normally, the main move is Knight f3. There is also H4 move, which is, I don't remember, Tal attack or something like that. But Knight f3 is the most solid take. The main idea right here is that the main problem somewhere that black can try to counterattack this idea, and there is a theoretical line up to 1000 moves, like I don't know, some bishop e3, queen b6, and stuff with b2 pawn falling and stuff like that. But I don't remember precisely what the move was. Maybe knight e7 first, and knight d2, as I understand, is an attempt to avoid some of the lines with early c5 by Magnus. He wants to play knight b3 and only then continue development. Right now c5 is too early, and after e6 it's already too late, and that's what happened in the game. But for some reason black didn't play c5 right here, which is the most competitive way to play, or a6 first maybe and then play c5. Perhaps choosing a knight e7 move, bishop e2 h6 castle, and this position happened like many times. By the way, Vladimir, any guesses what's the most popular move in this position? And the
For
first
White,
line of engine. No, it's black because white has just played
okay.
castle because it's like super well-known theory, some tabia of this line. At least it's been for a while.
Well, as you mentioned before, I'm not the expert in this type of
Yeah.
positions. So what is this, Vladislav?
I mean, any guesses? Like at least little
Well,
gamble.
I don't know, a5 or what.
I, I
Obviously, it will
have
be
I have
something.
actually also not bad, but g5 is the main move, with an idea to develop the bishop in such a weird way. Not the best like positions, in my opinion. White can clearly fight for an advantage, but it's like good way to play for a win because somewhere some attacking opportunities can pop up. So this is a move in the game. Bishop h7 was played with an idea to release the square for the knight somewhere so that development could continue. And white played a4, which is not really the move that any like normal person would understand. Why instead of developing piece, you play a4. Any, by the way, guesses, Vladimir? What does Magnus want?
Probably to win a space, as I so far as I can see. But okay, why it's better than development? That's what I can't reply.
But the point is that again, this is like tiny details. The point is that if black continues something like knight here, white wants to continue pushing, and white wants to completely, I mean, grab a lot of space, as Vladimir said, and try not let black breathe. Because let's say playing c5 right now is risky with the king in the center, and let's say we can undermine the center absolutely, or maybe take and play bishop b5 somewhere. This is the problem. Or if let's say black completely ignores it, we at some stage can even play a6, and then after b6 play again at some moment c4, and already c5, which I explained before is one of the main ideas. We can play d5 and absolutely control the center, and b5 also creates some holes. And if we, let's say, play a6 somewhere, then this hole speaks for itself, and again c4 is an option. And yeah, we have backward pawn, yeah, we have a hole right here, but black cannot capitalize on it, while white really have a great position because of space. That's the reason why Maghsoodloo played a5 right here. I don't know if you understood everything from it, but that's an idea. Like AlphaZero rules the world, and pushing flank pawns is the key. Bishop d2, trying to put a name on this pawn. Here, rook c1, and in this position g5 was played. But actually, this position, do you know? Do you have any idea? Has it ever happened before?
Yes, definitely I have because I checked it before the game. That's a game of Magnus Carlsen also himself against Wesley Soyce, I believe.
Yeah, and he played black pieces and he played knight f5, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really remember. White trying to push c4, but right here perhaps choosing g5 move, which is not a mistake, but the move that is not great, because in this position white can play c4. We like prepared everything for c4. The threat is to play c5, queen e1, and eat this pawn. Extra pawns are always great. And if, let's say, DC bishop takes, knight goes to d5, let's say, centralizing the knight, any thoughts how we can work this out? How can we make progress and destroy black for such bad development?
I know we maybe can even capture the knight and then
But
go
okay,
something like.
I mean, after CD seemed like position more or
I
less
know
solid.
maybe like yeah, I thought try to something with queen c2 and so on, but
Coincidence not the best try.
yeah, definitely it's not. There's a bishop. That's it. That's why I don't play this opening. So probably I mean and, yeah, then it's bad ideas from the beginning. But okay, queen e1 I thought, but yeah, there's a bishop before probably at some point. So let's put position back.
Knight is hanging. But actually, it was a good idea, and we actually discussed with you, Vladimir, something like that before the video. Right here,
Did
there is
we?
a good forced move in the position.
Oh, then I c5 or what is it?
Bishop a5.
Bishop a5. Wow,
Yeah,
I
you
don't like
like
this kind of moves.
in the end of the day, your brain already
But
starting
I
malfunctioning.
never heard. I never seen this question in my life. To be honest, I have to say in my defense.
Yeah, and then this is a check. It's about calculations. Okay.
Mhm.
So this was an idea. And if like bishop g7, then already yeah, queen e1 works because our bishop defends the knight and this pawn is guardless. In the game, Magnus plays king h1, which is a strange move a little bit. Of course, I understand that after g4 we might move somewhere, but the move is a bit mysterious. It's a prophylaxis, but what against? That's a good question. Knight g6 was played. Magnus plays bishop d3, and right now bishop b4. By the way, tricky move. Can you describe to our viewers what is it about, why does really black want to play it, why to trade the bishop, or what about c3, why black.
Yeah, so in three, he expects maybe that there will not be that much pressure against a pawn in this case. We just can drop bishop back somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true, bishop is not working, and plus what's more major problem is that there is also pressure on b3 knight, which is a problem. That's the reason why Magnus doesn't want to commit c3. He plays bishop e3 because when you have extra space, you don't want to trade pieces normally, because then your opponent will start kind of suffocating at some point. Not literally, I hope. Knight fd2 was played. Magnus is cooking f4 at some point because the king in the center want to open up, and king finally doesn't have a safe space where to go. He goes to the queen side, we have an attack because there are some hooks in the position. He goes to the king side, also hooks. That's the reason why you don't need to push your pawns. Knight h4 was played, bishop takes, and trade here. Magnus plays c3 and then plays c4, but in fact c4 was better to play because then we are really risking to trap the bishop at some point, and after c3 we kinda letting him go like some
There he wants,
criminal,
yeah.
giving him some time. And straight here black played logical move, knight f8, trying to bring more pieces to the king side rather than leave it to the queen side. But computer doesn't like it. It's very hard to figure out whether such move is good or not during the game. Very hard to find out, but Magnus plays a4. Actually, if I were Magnus, I would be rich, but let's not talk about it right here. Probably I would take first because then we don't risk to have a backward pawn anymore and we can play a4 straight away. But I guess it's a matter of taste. f4 was played. Knight f5, bishop g1, gf, takes, and rook f4. Right now, white has an open file to attack on, which is quite cool. Knight g7, queen c2, like logical moves. Magnus tries to create pressure and threats. And straight here, it's white to play. In the game, Magnus played rook cf1, and it seems like we pressure in the pawn, but black can easily defend. Is there any better piece we could try to improve right now, which could really bring a lot of impact in the position? You think why?
Okay, maybe we can try to do something with the knight or with the bishop. With bishop, I believe it's a bit too slow for this kind of position because black is also playing. He'll go like 96 or something like
Yeah,
that.
because ideally I would like to trade this bishop and infiltrate to f6, but it takes ages probably.
Yeah, so that's why some okay, but knight move also is not the best in this case because my rook is awkwardly placed. Yeah, it's complicated. Maybe some knight c5 just jump.
But then you go under 96.
Yeah,
Oh no
later
no,
until trade.
not
It's
96. I like try
no,
to
not this knight
t-
to e6. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, other
take the
probably
Sesta
neither.
shot. I mean, this knight is not working, and after rook of one, we actually not letting this knight be improved. But can we use f1 square for?
Yeah, to e3 f5.
Yeah, we can go f1 here, and there is a funny threat knight d5 using the pin, and we can also try to go knight f5 at the same point, at the same yeah, at the same time. Knight goes to e6. In the game, rook f5 was played. We don't want to hang the rook. Queen b6. Right now, some pressure on d4 pawn, but honestly speaking, I think that Parham just waiting until the Magnus will finish him because the position doesn't look good. Many weaknesses, king in the center, pieces cramped, and what could go wrong? But what can you say about this move, Vladimir?
Okay, when I saw this game, I asked Vladislav, what does he think? But he didn't have any answer to this.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. This move is extremely weird, creepy. I don't know what is it for. I mean, idea is that Magnus wanted to play knight c3, but why to do it in such weird way? Why not instead not play, let's say, knight f3 and move
Yeah.
somewhere forward? Maybe then like even prepare some of these ideas. Maybe go like this later on. At least
Yeah,
something.
you need the knight on c3. Like, you look at this position, where I want my knight. Oh, in c3, look at this square.
Yeah. And the problem with the c3 because you like not moving anywhere. There are no prospects. There is no even queen on c7 to use the pin that we mentioned before. Right here, bishop g5 is played again. The move that is very logical and it's hard to explain why. Is it a mistake? Better was to play queen b4, being annoying, trying to keep everything under pressure because black has nothing to do. Black doesn't have any good plan. But perhaps looking for some activity. Knight d2, finally another knight who's not working, trying to be improved. Knight d4, by the way, doesn't work. for many reasons, starting with the pin. You never want to end up under such pin. Secondly, maybe some tactics like capture knight f3 would work as well. But queen a6 was played, and right here Magnus plays rook f3, which is not a mistake. The move totally makes sense right here. Chess.com engine, as usual, somewhere flying in the clouds. And yeah, we have this idea somewhere. Rook goes to d8, knight f1, rook d7, knight goes to h2. Just, okay, you can explain to viewers why knight e3 is a pretty bad option.
Okay, knight e3, because there is pawn hanging, I think.
Yeah, and it's like some royal fork, just three
At least this I
pieces.
can see at
That
11 o'clock.
yeah, it's true. Knight h2, queen goes to c4. B3, Magnus plays second time engine shows wrong because the move is the best according to normal engine with the normal depths. The idea is that if like knight d4 losing the pawn, we can play queen f2, and after knight b3, even though being 2 pawns down, our attack is outstanding. We're threatening rook g5, knight f6 takes, and rook f7, and this knight is like game changer. So queen b4 was played, which is totally fine move, and trade here. Probably this knight kind of stuck, so we could try to improve him. But the problem is that the pawn is hanging. So probably the best way was to defend this pawn somehow, maybe like with rook d3 and stuff, or engine also likes rook f1, trying to set a little trap, as we mentioned before, with a knight f3, trying to attack two pieces at a time. But in the game, knight e2 was played, Magnus using simple approach. And why knight e2 is a mistake? And right now, Maghsoodloo didn't use it because he was pretty low on time, but later he came to this conclusion, what sort of transformation of the position would be great. What good move did
I think we
black
have
miss?
queen d2 here for black, just because, first of all, the king, and the pressure, all these things. So you trade queens, you don't have problems with pawn structure, you have great piece on e6 always. That's it.
Yeah, and plus, when you're being attacked, you want to trade queens because then queen is the main source of danger. Even though right now it's not participating attack, it can be very aggressive in the future and very useful in the future. Knight here was played, and right now, let's say playing rook d3, fixing this gap, and Magnus with 2 minutes on the clock couldn't find it, was the best way because later we can continue attacking because this pawn is guarded. We have knight f3 move, we have many options. Instead, knight g4 was played, and right now, after knight e7, rook got stuck, so we have to kinda sacrifice it. But then after bishop f6, knight f6, because of the fork, we take it back. Queen d2 was played now, and it was a great decision. And right now, Magnus continues his trading madness by playing bishop e3. How do you think? Is it good to trade bishops in this position, or what could Magnus consider instead?
Okay, if you try to play for a win, maybe you can try to get later the h4 pawn with it somehow. So you can play something like bishop
Bishop
f2, for
f2, yeah.
example.
Because right now, if bishop g5 still, this rook is not hanging, and moreover, so there is an amazing, like brilliant move, knight f4. Which of course was 1 minute on the clock, and I don't know how Magnus ended up in the time trouble. Not very like likely of him. The idea is that after knight f4, rook f4 takes check, rook goes, we take. We actually take right here first, and then
Yeah, because.
we
Mhm.
have this like mating attacks and stuff like this. Instead, bishop e3 was played. c5, good breakthrough because black is looking for a counterplay. First option they had, and they trying to do it. And Magnus goes to the endgame, which is incredibly hard to win. Because even though we have one extra pawn, this pawn will most likely fall. One of them, maybe both. And Magnus tried to play g3. Then he took, winning the pawn back. And so right here, everything got traded, and being pawn up doesn't help Magnus a lot because this pawn's double isolated. On the other hand, it's outside passed pawn, but rook endgames are pretty drawish. I'll probably skip some part. Right here, Magnus was trying his best winning abilities in such endgames, but I'm probably gonna show you the final positions. Magnus was like trying, step by step, won the pawn on the other wing, then tried to centralize the king, and everything ended up with such position. Entered here, Magnus played king d3, and Parham played king e7. How do you think what Magnus could try to do? What he could hope for, even though the game right here ended in a draw?
Maybe try some rook h6 back again, or
Yeah, because rook
yes.
h6, what's the trick? At some point, let's say if we go here, or maybe we could do it a little bit before. The idea is that, like, basically, maybe before we could do it somewhere right here. If the king starts running somewhere, we have this a7 trick, and then rook cannot take on a7 because we have this idea. And if the king moves here, we're still trying to press it. That's a typical endgame trick. But okay, this is it. 87 moves was not enough to find a winner in this game. And actually, Norway lost this match because one guy lost, the rest finished in a draw. You cannot really hope for some support when you have Tari and Christensen in your team. Okay, I'm joking, of course, but
No,
uh,
you not much.
yeah, not much. Okay, so let's go to the next game. And next game is Almighty Ding, the world champion himself, against Lekwan Liam, who, for some reason, counted not the best player, but he still has 5-point ratings more. Who could have thought? And yeah, that's how we start. C4, that's by the way Vladimir area more because he's C4 player himself. G3, D5, CD, knight D5, and white plays bishop G2. Right here, there are several systems. At least what I know is like one of the ideas is to play knight c7, e5, and try
e5,
to get
e6.
Maroczy. In this game, g6 was played, and Ding decided now or never and plays h4. Any explanations what he wants to achieve, why he played this move?
I think he wants finally win the game. That's why probably he plays h4 in this
That,
position.
it's like every time he wants to win the game, plays aggressive, and then
Then
things.
something goes wrong sometimes. Moreover, against very strong players like Wang Liam is. Okay, also maybe he wanted to surprise a little bit his opponent, but then didn't look like, to be honest.
Yeah, as I know, it's like more or less famous idea.
Yeah,
Even I heard about it. Like,
not the main line, but I mean, yeah, there's nothing surprising.
idea is that if, like, let's say h5, we will have the square for the knight, and he would be very annoying piece to kick away. In the game, bishop g7 was played h5, bishop f5, h6. So it's like in the best traditions again of some artificial intelligence trying to push h pawn to the end to get some space to have some queen g7 mating attacks. Castle, knight h2, another a bit mysterious move. But the idea is to try to create pressure on these knights and maybe later play somewhere g4, g5. I don't know. How do you think?
Probably that is the point, because if not, I don't see any other idea. Like, no, we
Ah,
will not definitely hold knight g4.
maybe like somehow to play f4. But
Okay,
yeah,
then maybe you first play d3, right? And then you already think about these things.
yeah. But probably, but right now we cannot play d3 yet.
Yeah, there's a knight
So
c3, and then later also you can't do it.
yeah, probably
So
that's the point. Maybe it's just like
yeah, now
a
you kick knight
necessity.
away because you attack it, right? And now you probably want to do something like that.
Yeah, and right now d3 would be the main line, but a4 kind of very even with it. The point of a4 move is to play a5 and pressure the knight even further, but what are drawbacks of this move, which actually later played against Ding?
Okay, giving up some squares, it giving up some pawns. I mean, the make it more weak. Yeah, and
Yeah,
knight
but right
before.
now, if let's say a5 is played, then yeah, we will have great outposts right here. But in the game, knight a5 was played. Right now, still not late to play d3. Why not? To prevent any knight c4 jumps. But Ding plays knight e4, and Liam plays bishop e4 move, which is great because we don't want to lose such protector of g7 square. And right here, the best way was probably to centralize the knight, trying to punish white for such brave, courageous play. But in the game, black played more conservative c4, which I don't like because it creates idea of knight b3. But then after d3, it turns out that bishop pair still rules. In the game, rook c8 was played. Nothing's happening really. Rook b1 protecting the pawn so that the bishop could go for a walk. Queen takes, bishop f3, and pawn drops. How do you think? Is it so bad for Dinkor? What he has in mind?
Okay,
Why
he
he gave
has
up a pawn?
a pair, he has more active pieces, and knight on a5 is still slow, so he can use a little bit the time that he has in this position.
Yeah, he wanna play knight g4 and say that I have bishop pair and my activity will pay off. Right here, knight b3 was played, rook d1, another good move, so Dink this part of the game playing very well, attacking. And right here, this was kinda the moment whether we wanna take the knight or the bishop. Slightly better was probably to take the bishop because we were hunting him down for a long time and even play bishop e3 because then after capturing, we have rook d7 idea and this pawn. Remember, very opening we played it, but right now always backrank threat. But knight f5 was played, which is a human move, keeping the normal bishop pair. Playing f6 would be most likely bad. Why is it so? How do you
Yeah,
think?
I think still bishop d5 also is not that hard to spot for me.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. So do I. So we're still not dead yet. Right here, better move was probably bishop d6, trying to guard this pawn, giving up this, keeping the position more or less even, because we don't want to tear apart the pawn structure when we play against the bishop pair. And after knight d4, this was the most critical moment of the game. We can take one of these two pawns. Which one is it better to take?
Okay, I think the e7 is more ambitious if you want to play for a win.
Yeah, because as I said before, we wanna, I don't know, try to have position with passed pawns with a lot of space where bishops could outplay the knight. So bishop e7 was a great move, and even if we lose bishop, still back rank is the problem. In the game, bishop b7 was played, and so Liam smells. What does he smell in this position?
Okay, that there is weakness on b2, and if he'll take pawn on b2, he'll have pass pawn on a file. Probably
Uh,
that's he wants to say.
I thought that you would say that it's time to cook ding, but okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing here.
Yeah, bishop f3, f6, creating a window for the king to escape, then taking the bishop. Right now there is no bishop pair, and then bishop d6, not letting any activity to appear. And then after this trade, could you imagine the trade here? Dean could lose the position 4 on one flank.
Okay, I've done worse things in my life, but
Yeah,
definitely.
Vladimir refers to his very ambitious legendary game when he managed to lose 4 on 3 rook and game with 4 pawns on the board.
Yes, that's
But
what happened.
this was masterpiece. This was like beyond the level, and his opponent was also super strong. So yeah,
Okay,
all
here I
good
just
GM.
see that pawn on h6 can potentially become a weakness one day, and that Ding has double pawns, but to lose this game,
Yeah,
it's quite difficult.
and actually this pawn, yeah, as long as you have an attack, this pawn plays for you. When you don't have an attack, it's a weakness. That's a cruel life. G5 was played. Right now the pawn is alone. This cruel word f4. Dink like calls 911 trying to carry it, help it, but Liam is unstoppable. And right here, actually, there was an opportunity to save the game for Dink with 2 minutes on the clock for 7 moves. What was it? Because what's more important, h6 pawn or f4 pawn?
Actually, it looks like 2 minutes for one move, because once you see this move, you draw the game. You play f5. You play
Yeah,
f5 because your double pawns are very ugly. And after king takes, you can play rook h8 and find the counter plan. If he wants to hold back, you check him, and then you hold back.
yeah. And the problem is that like you can just win the pawn. And this is it. I don't know what was Dean afraid. It's not the hard like tactics to calculate. Vladimir spotted in the next 10 seconds. Maybe he needs to play Dink in the match. Uh,
Definitely, definitely.
it's like would be even clash, I guess. It's like no trolling, just jokes. Just yeah, don't take it seriously. And this position still very drawish. And another moment, it's already move number 40. It's very important, to make super responsible decision when you have no time. That's the rule. Always like 40's move. Let's make an important decision before the time increments. But I mean, it's not a blunder because we can win it back. But how do you think? Would the bishop trade be good or not?
Okay, I think that's only thing that gives black some winning chances, because now, as I can see in the board, right, it's 12 o'clock almost, but They don't have pass pawn. The black pieces they have two pawns versus one, and they still need to create a pass pawn and then somehow win the game. But if you really want to trade the bishop, moreover, let's see what will happen next. It's not the end. Let's say black didn't take on c5.
Yeah, black didn't take on c5 and
And
trade.
what do you think? What do you think, guys? What happened right now?
Okay, of course he took, and the problem with taking that he creates passed pawn. If he just kept the bishops and somewhere, let's say, Liam traded it, it would be way easier to play against these two pawns with your one because he doesn't have any passed pawns, and he created passed pawn right here,
And
which
for sure, he had this face that you can see in his profile picture on the chess.com,
yeah,
thinking that he will make a draw for sure after this.
yeah.
He said, easy draw for world champion
And
after
Tradier,
this.
he just needed to centralize the king, because if you have active king, active rook, it's an easy draw. Instead, he starts checking with no reason. Then he goes back, and already position starts being lost, because king is cut, king is not in the
Yeah, you
game.
cannot bring it to the game. The point that if you keep your rook on d8, right, there is definitely no way for king to improve, or
Yeah.
f6 pawn will be lost or whatsoever.
And
But
right now, if
now
like, yeah, king is 3, then let's say there is like d4, then we can
d4,
continue pushing and pushing, because
f5,
if
I
right
think,
here, we can even drop the pawn and try to eat it at
and
some
go directly.
moment. In the game, rook a1 was played, and Liam makes a mistake. He just needed to activate his rook, as he will do later, and start pushing pawns, just destroying his opponent. Instead, he plays rook e6, and in legendary Dvoretsky's book, when you have a pawn on your own side, it's draw, because like if you
Yes, you
check
hope on
here,
first side, yeah, and
you
rook
just
d1.
stand
Even I know
here,
this.
wait, and it's a draw because the king cannot go closer. Yeah, there is a pair of pawns, but it doesn't affect the position much. Instead, Dean plays rook a4, and step by step, Liam wins, and he makes a draw in the match. So Vietnam played 2-2, and all the effort of his teammates goes absolutely in vain. And actually, it all ended with like similar almost to the bridge position, but it hasn't come to it yet. So this is it. Both of the world champions didn't help their teams. Magnus couldn't make a draw in the match. Dean couldn't win in the match, even though he was like super close. Just take and grab it. What do you guys think? Thanks, Vladimir, for joining in today, and we will
Yeah,
see you
thank
in the
you.
next episodes. Bye.
Ciao.